Chioma rolled her eyes. Nobody said anything about killing. Please, mind your business, Mama. Mama Teresa didn't move. The school hall buzzed with chatter. Parents clapping as children went up one by one to receive awards. The air smelled faintly of chalk, dust, and fried pop-off sold by the gate. Teachers smiled proudly, cameras flashed, and children laughed in their neatly pressed uniforms. Best students in primary three, the head teacher announced. Adjusting her glasses, the award goes to Folarin Adekunle. The all erupted in applause as little Folarin in his oversized uniform with a missing button walked timidly to the stage. His shoes were scuffed, his socks mismatched, but his face shone with pride. He clenched the certificate like treasure and then, "What is that dirty boy doing here?" Choma's shrill voice cut through the air like a knife. The clapping stopped, head turned, silence fell. Folarin froze mid-step, his small eyes darting around in confusion. The certificate trembled in his hand. "Who are you calling dirty?" Simi's voice rang out from the middle row, sharper than anyone I've ever heard. Pushed her chair back with such force that it screeched against the tiled floor. Her chest heaved as she walked forward, every step heavy with years of swallowed pain. "Answer me, Choma! Who are you calling dirty?" Gaps rippled through the hall. Parents whispered. Taz shifted uncomfortably. Choma, dressed in a floral two-piece set, with gold jewelry clinking around her wrist, pointed a painted finger at Folarin. "That child! Your child has no right to be here. No father, no proper upbringing, nothing but shame to his name." "Shame?" Simi cracked as she advanced, eyes flashing with fury. "The only shame here is the wickedness living inside you, Choma. What has my son done other than existing? Eh? Tell me!" Her voice broke, echoing across the silent hall. Folarin stood rooted to the spot, clutching his certificate, not understanding why his mother, the gentle one who always told him to ignore mean words, was suddenly shouting. His voice trembled and his little eyes filled with tears. Their teacher quickly tried to intervene. "Please, please, this is a children's event." But Choma cut her off. Her voice loud, venomous. "You think you can parade that child here, as if he belongs here? Bode is with me, not with you. Everyone knows it. Stop deceiving yourself." At that, parents gasped audibly. Some murmured, others exchanged looks. Simi's whole body shook, her hands balled into fists. "You dare speak of belonging? My son worked hard for that award. He earned it unlike some people. We don't buy our children's success with money and fake smiles." That jab landed. Choma's eyes widened. Her face flushed with rage. She grabbed her own son, Jide, who had been sucking a lollipop in his seat. Confused by the chaos, she hoisted him into her arms with a violent tug. "Let's go, Jide. We don't mingle with filth." She stormed out of the hall, her high heels clacking against the floor, leaving behind the heavy silence, filled with tension and pity. Parents whispered, some shaking their heads, others quietly clapping for Simi's courage. Simi, breathing hard, turned to her son, who stood frozen on the stage, his little shoulders hunched. She climbed up, knelt before him, and cupped his face with trembling hands. "Mommy," Folarin whispered, his voice small, uncertain. "Did I do something bad?" Simi's heart shattered. She hugged him tightly, burying her head into his neck, tears soaking his collar. "No, my son, you did everything right. Don't you ever believe otherwise." Choma slammed the door of Bode's home office so hard that the frame rattled. "I can't believe that child has been going to the same school as my son," she screamed, her chest even. Bode, calm as ever, sat behind his mahogany desk, his reading glasses specked low on his nose. Without flinching, he lifted his coffee mug to his lips. "What child?" he asked casually. "Simi's son," Chioma spat, her voice dripping with disdain. She threw her handbag on the chair and slumped beside him dramatically. But they froze, the mug suspended halfway. "Folarin goes to Jide school." His brows rose in mid-surprise. "Oh, wow. Is that all you will say?" Chioma demanded, her eyes flashing. She pressed a hand to her chest and let out a practiced sob. "You don't even care about how this affects me. How people will look at me, that woman's child, sitting in the same classroom as my son." But they set down the mug slowly, studying her. "No, baby, don't worry, we'll change Jide's school, if it bothers you this much." "Why do we have to change the school?" Choma fired back, sitting upright now, her tone sharper. She should take her dirty child instead. Why must I and my son suffer? Bode sighed and leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. Choma, not every battle is worth fighting. Let it go. But she didn't. For the next 7 days, Falari and Simi's names rolled off Choma's tongue morning, afternoon, and night. She brought them up over dinner, in the car, even in church when the sermon touched on forgiveness, and in her voice, there was always something jealousy, rage, or perhaps fear. Meanwhile, in the small, modest home across town, Simi's mornings were quieter. The tiny house always smelled of fresh palm oil and wood polish, with flowering toys scattered in corners despite her best efforts. That morning, Grandma had stayed over. She had a habit of coming for long visits, helping with chores, giving advice, and in her own way, trying to fill the hole Simi never admitted was there. At the dining table, the grandma placed a steaming cup of tea and buttered bread before Folarin. Eat well, my baby, she said with a smile, patting his head gently. But Folarin only stared at the bread, sucking. He picked at the crust with tiny fingers. What's wrong, my baby? Grandma asked softly, kneeling a little so she could look him in the eye. His lips trembled, and then the words fell out like broken pieces of glass. Grandma, why doesn't my mommy live with my daddy? Tears spilled down his chubby cheeks. Before Grandma could gather her thoughts, Simi walked into the living room. She had heard it all. The question hit her like a slap, sharp, unexpected, cruel. Her body stiffened, and old wounds tore open inside her chest. She swallowed hard, fighting the lump in her throat. What? What daddy is that? She asked. Her voice trembling, though her eyes flashed with anger. She stood over him, her breath shallow. Folarin looked up innocently, unaware of the storm he had unleashed. My daddy, he whispered. Simi's chest rose and fell rapidly. Fola, have I been a bad mother to you? Her voice cracked, and her eyes glistened as she knelt in front of him, searching his face. No, mommy, the boy said quickly, panicking at her tears. His small hand shot out to wipe her cheeks. You're the best, mommy. Simi's lips quivered as she pulled him into her arms, pressing his head tightly against her chest. Her tears fell into his hair. Please don't ever ask such a question again, she whispered hoarsely. You will understand everything when you grow up, okay? Folari nodded against her shoulder, but deep inside, confusion swelled. His mother's embrace was warm, but the emptiness he felt was not filled. Morning light filtered through the blinds. Choma stood behind Jide, combing his hair with Brick's annoying strokes. Let's get rid of that child, she said flatly. Bode, buttoning his cuffs, glanced up in the mirror. Get rid of him. Why? Choma's jaw tightened. Because I won't have anyone dragging my son's rights with him. At the graduation, parents were whispering. Two boys that look like Bode. Do you know what that does? It confuses the story. It weakens Jide's place. Bode frowned. Place is my son, Choma. And so is the other one by blood, he snapped. In this Lagos, name and first son talk matter. Your mother people still do tradition. The board at Adeyemi Holdings loves their legacy speeches. Today it's award stock. Tomorrow is inheritance. Then it's surname. Then one day, that Simi will drag you to court for child support, and the blogs will feed on it. Two hairs, one throne. My son would wrestle with a shadow for what is his. But they looked away. We can move Jide to another school. End of story. Choma laughed, low and hard. So we run? From his 7-year-old, she leaned in. No. We removed the problem cleanly, quietly. So Jide is your only family anyone sees. But his mouth opened, then closed. He didn't agree, but he also didn't stop her either. In the next room, Mama Teresa laid plates on the table, listening despite herself. When Choma's words sharpened, removed the problem, she couldn't hold back. She stepped into the doorway, wiping her hands on her wrapper. Madam, why would you want to kill that innocent child? Choma rolled her eyes. Nobody said anything about killing. Please, mind your business, Mama. Mama Teresa didn't move. I didn't hear when Simi carried her belly alone. I be the one who followed her to hospital. I saw that picking first. Kiloshe, what did he do to you? Choma's nostrils flared. He exists. He competes. He takes food from my son's mouth, his opportunities, his future. I won't watch my child share his father with a mistake. Ah! Mama Teresa slapped her palm against her chest. Child is not mistake. Sin is mistake. Repentance is cure. If you touch that child, God will judge, and this house will not know peace. Enough preaching, Choma East. You work here. You are paid. Stay in your lane. Mama Teresa's eyes filled. The day I keep quiet, why they harm a child is the day I bury my own soul. Even Oga Bode knows. Blood is blood. Don't let devil use you, madam. But they still at the mirror muttered, Choma, leave it. Choma turned on both of them. You want me to leave it until the blogs crown their son the real heir? Until your board starts inviting the boy to gala night? No. I said what I said. She snatched her phone and stalked off. Mama Teresa looked at Bode, voice low. Oga, talk to your wife. This road is dark. Bode's shoulders sagged. I will handle it. But he didn't. By afternoon, Choma was pacing corridors, voice hushed but sharp over the phone. School gates, end of closing time, no uniforms, plain clothes. You will say his father wants to see him. Yes, the quiet one with the big eyes, no noise, no ransom. I want him gone for a while. She listened, then added, almost lazily, tie him where he can think. Let him feel cold and hunger. I will come. I want to see him understand. From the pantry doorway, Mama Teresa pressed a hand to her mouth. Tears stinking, she caught enough names, enough landmarks, enough of the plan to map it in her head. The old woman straightened her back. If Madame has plan, she whispered to herself, I have plan too. That evening, she slipped out to find Babakola, the retired security man, and pressed folded notes into his palm. Follow them, whatever they do, you undo. Bring him home. Babakola nodded once. We go stand for truth, Mama. The sun was hot that afternoon, the kind of heat that made the school compound shimmer like fire. Children ran about happily, clutching their report cards, while parents waited outside the gates. Among the children was Folari, holding his little water bottle, scanning the gates for his mother. Folari, a tall man in a brown cap, called, waving at him. Your daddy is waiting for you outside. He said I should bring you. Folari blinked. My daddy? He tilted his head innocently. But my daddy is in heaven. The man's smile faltered for a second, but he quickly added, Ah, yes. I mean your uncle. He said to come quickly. Your mommy too. They are waiting. The child hesitated, chewing his lip. His teacher was busy with other parents, and the man's voice carried a strange authority. Slowly, he allowed the man to hold his hand. Just as they reached the roadside, a black SUV screeched to a halt. Two rough-looking men jumped out, bundled the boy inside, and the car zoomed away. Help! Somebody help! A fruit seller shouted, dropping a tray, but the kidnappers were gone in seconds, swallowed by the road dust. When Folari's blindfold was removed, he found himself tied to a tree in the middle of a thick forest. His small hands trembled as he pulled at the rope, cutting into his wrists. The forest was cold and damp. Even though it was afternoon, birds screeched, and a lizard darted past his legs. Hours later, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Choma, dressed in a red lace blouse, her face painted with contempt. She walked slowly, her heels crunching leaves. Well, 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 little rat, she sneered, folding her arms. Do you know why you're here? Folari sniffled, tears rolling down his dusty cheeks. I want my mommy, please. Chama laughed wickedly. Your mommy? Tufiakwa. That woman ruined my life, and you dare to resist, to drag what belongs to my son. Now, you will learn how cold the night can be. She bent low, her perfume choking, and whispered into his ear. You will starve here. The animals will hear your cries before anyone does. The boy whimpered. God will tell my mommy. She will come. Choma's eyes narrowed. She slapped him lightly across the cheek. Shut up, dirty boy. She turned and walked away, her laughter echoing in the forest. Unknown to Choma, Mama Teresa's contact, Baba Kola, had followed the men. That night, guided by Choma's careless instructions, overhead on the phone, they followed the kidnappers' trail. When they reached the forest, Baba Kola's torch beam caught sight of a small figure tied to a tree. Jesu! There he is, uncle! Folari cried hoarsely. His tiny voice cracked. Please help me. Please untie me. They cut the ropes quickly and wrapped him in a thick cloth. Just then, one of the kidnappers returned with food. A scuffle broke out, sticks against fists, shouts piercing the quiet night. Kidnappers fled when they realized they were outnumbered. Mama Teresa arrived moments later, holding Simi's trembling hands. For Larry! Simi screamed. Rushing to gather her son in her arms, she kissed his face over and over, sobbing uncontrollably. My child, my life, my miracle! They will never touch you again. When Chioma heard that Folarin had been rescued, her plans collapsed. Her hands shook as she told her husband, Bode, we cannot stay here. The police will come. We must leave tonight. Bode, weak in spirit, agreed. Within hours, they forged documents and fled to South Africa, leaving everything behind. 10 years later, back in Nigeria, Simi rebuilt her life with her parents' support. Folarin grew into a brilliant teenager, gentle and kind, excelling in school. His grandparents spoiled him with love. Grandma's hot pop-off after school. Grandpa's long evening stories under the mango tree. Simi often prayed at night, tears soaking her pillow, thanking God for sparing her son. In South Africa, Choma gave birth to a baby girl, Tara, not long after relocating. But even with a new child, her jealousy never left. At a new place of work, she tried poisoning a colleague who was praised for a promotion. But her plan failed. Fearing exposure, she convinced Bode that they should return to Nigeria. They came back. Chioma, as usual, had convinced Bode to go back to take Folarin. We need an houseboy to do chores, she said. They came back arrogant, pretending like nothing happened. Chioma in a sharp tongue said, Simi, we have returned. Give us Folarin, she said. He should help us in our house. After all, he's Bode's son. Simi froze, her heart pounding. Before she could reply, 17-year-old Folarin stepped out of the house. He had grown tall, with calm eyes that carried wisdom beyond his age. He looked directly at Bode, his voice strong yet filled with emotion. Sir, you've lost the right to call me son. The day you let your wife try to destroy me, I survived hunger, fear, and the forest. But what pained me most was knowing my father never came for me. My family is here, my mother, my grandparents. They gave me love when you gave me abandonment. You don't deserve me. Please leave and never come back. I'm no one house boy. Simi's eyes brimmed with tears. Neighbors who had gathered clapped in support. Just as Bode tried to mutter a defense, police vans pulled up with sirens. Officers stepped out with documents in hand. Chioma Adeyemi and Bode Adeyemi, one officer announced. You are under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy, and poisoning charges linked to your activities in South Africa. You are coming with us. Choma's face twisted in horror. No, no, not me, she screamed, as handcuffs clicked around her wrists. Tara and Jide were taken in by child services officers. The crowd watched in silence. As Chioma and Bode were dragged into the van, Simi held Folarin close, whispering, You see, son, evil can never triumph forever. Karma has spoken. Folarin nodded, tears rolling down his cheeks. Yes, mommy. Justice came at last. The police vans drove off, dust rising in their trail, leaving behind the quiet streets where love had finally defeated it. Thank you so much for watching to this point, guys.